Hello, my friends. Katie Day with the Moving to Texas team here with another episode of the Real Advice podcast. This week's guest has been in the real estate industry for 30 years, which is unbelievable because she looks like she's 25, but we'll get into that later. But she has held many different positions at different brokerages and many different facets of the real estate industry, which I think gives her such a unique perspective, not only on the industry, but also the client experience and marketing and just everything real estate related. So her personal motto is live each day to its fullest potential and positively impact the lives of others. And if you've ever met her in person, she is such a positive person and a joy to be around. So it's obvious that that fits her and her personality. I can't wait to dig in. So let's get started. Please join me in welcoming Connie Carlson from Atlanta, Georgia. What's going on, Connie?
Hey, I'm excited to be here and excited to see what questions you have and what I can do to contribute to your podcast. This is only like the third time I've ever been on a podcast, and it's the first time I've been on a video podcast.
Well, what I was going to say is, if you say that's surprising because she's got like the Rode mic on an arm. If you're watching this, you're seeing it, and she's got like this blue background, and but she's all lit up well with lighting. So you look like a pro. You got the headphones on and everything, so you look like a pro.
Yeah, it's been a labor of love to get this whole thing working. I've got a lot of equipment. I just have to lean on some of my friends at Real to tell me how to put it all together because I'm not very good with equipment.
Well, it looks good. It looks good.
Thanks.
I'm impressed. All right. So for those that may not know you, how did you get into real estate?
I got into real estate. Originally, I was a commercial real estate appraiser for Arthur Andersen in Chicago. So okay. I started my career right out of college and did everything. My first job was Union Pacific Railroad right away through Ventura County in California. I had to appraise that strip of land. And that was before the internet. That was like 1991. So we would have to we'd call up appraisers and say, hey, I'll buy you lunch if you give me your sales that you know of in the neighborhood. So that's kind of where I started. I did Mall of America. That was probably my career high appraisal thing.
Did you get to go in and ride the roller coasters in order to appraise the mall?
No? I didn't ride roller coasters. I just looked at a lot of leases.
That doesn't seem very fun.
No, it was a hard job. But I quit Arthur Andersen when my kids were born. I have two kids, a boy and a girl. They're 27 and 25. And so decided that traveling with my job, I just didn't want to do it. I stayed home until my daughter was in kindergarten. And I really distinctly remember the day I was cleaning the toilets up in the kids' bathroom. And I thought, I did not go to college for this. Like I could get a job and pay somebody to clean the house. So by then, Arthur Andersen was defunct, the whole Enron catastrophe. Yeah. So Dan said, why don't you be a real estate agent? You could get the kids off the bus. And I had this impression of a real estate agent as like this old lady who drove a used Mercedes, had a lot of rings, smoked when nobody was looking. Like I just really wasn't something but I thought, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot. So got into residential sales. That was in 2004. And was number one in our KW office that first year out of 120 agents. So my little part-time mommy gig went full-time pretty fast.
Well, and that's when you describe like, I wasn't sure and this and that. I'm like, I know your work ethic and I know that you like ramped up very quickly, right? So I was like, this like, I'm going to go sell a house or two didn't last very long.
Yeah. There was a period of time where, and maybe I had been in business maybe like 8 or 9 years, and my dad had just passed away, and I was just kind of in a moment. We've all have those moments where we feel really beaten down, and do I really, really want to do this anymore? And I was coaching. I had a MAPS coach, and I remember my call with her. I was like, I don't even know if I want to do this anymore, right? And she said, I said, there's nothing I want you to hold me accountable for. Like, I'm just really feeling like maybe I need to take a different direction. And so she, we kind of talked about what I liked and I didn't like, and she really did help lean me. That's when I started coaching people. But my son came up to me and he goes, Mom, why are you it was called the top down report at KW. And it would show you like everybody's GCI in the office. And for
Mm-hmm.
whatever reason, that's like a motivator to me. Like
Yeah,
I just wanted to be at the top. I remember when I
of
first saw
course.
that report, I'm like, I want to be in the first 20. And that first real year, I was number one. And so my son was like, Mom, stop looking at the report. Maybe you're putting
Yeah.
so much stress on yourself. But it's just a competitive thing. Like once you see that, you want to kind of reach it.
Yeah. I mean, like, I love a good list, right? I've always been motivated by that. And it's not that like I need the accolade of it. It's that like I want to know that I'm number one on the list or whatever it is,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah. It's like you don't even care about walking across the stage or getting an award, or it's just your personal achievement. Like I got that far up there.
yeah, yeah. So, okay. I know that you were with Keller Williams, you like managed a Keller Williams, I think, or you were coaching at Keller
Mhm.
Williams, you had your own brokerage. So you've been through a lot of different leadership roles and things like that. And so for someone that is looking to build a team, right?
Okay.
If I'm an individual agent today and I'm looking to build a team, what advice would you give to me in what I should do or what I should avoid in building a team? Like what advice could you provide?
I would say, there's the MREA model, and I think that has some merit, but then there's other ideas, other models.
Yeah.
So I would, before you do anything, look at what your options are, look at what your strengths are. So
Yeah.
I think it's really important. For me, I, started my team small. I hired an assistant. And once I got so busy that I couldn't handle all the buyers, or I felt like, there gets a point where the leads are coming in and you can't service all of them.
Mhm,
That's
mhm.
when I brought on a buyer's agent. And for me, I said, you will handle all our buyers.
Okay.
I may have a few that I handle that are like personal referrals, but for the most part, they got all of the buyers and I did all the listings. And that worked for a while. We built a team. I've had a team of from, just one agent and one full-time staff all the way up to 12 agents. And then I had my own brokerage. But I will say I was most profitable when I had 3 buyer's agents. I was doing listings and I had a one full-time admin. I think for me personally,
Yeah.
that small team, it was easier to make sure everybody was happy, everybody was fed really well. It
Yeah.
just seemed like once the team got really big, if you decide to go that route to make a big team, I think you go from being able to be in sales to being a recruiter and being a team leader. So you
Well, and
have to
so
be ready to make that switch.
for sure, for sure. What was the largest, like if that's, your most profitable and like, small, like kind of SEAL team, right? As you got larger, right? Like, and maybe it was when you had your brokerage, I don't know, like what was the largest your group was?
We had 31 agents and
Yeah.
5 full-time staff.
Yeah.
So half of the agents, well, by the time we got to that, everybody had access to our CRM. We had like 28,000 leads in there. And so everybody could come to the brokerage and know that they could always, fish in that pond if they
Yeah.
wanted. Of course, they paid a split on that. So there's some pros and cons to doing that. That sounded
Yeah.
good on the outside, but I don't think it was probably the right. I'm very soft. Like I'm very easily like, I'm not a hardline kind of leader. Sometimes
Hmm.
I'm a little too soft, and knowing that now, now we're in an all family team.
Yeah.
So we've gone from this to this, and I'm really happy now. I'm glad I went through all of the different levels of being a team leader. And, there's certain things I absolutely loved, and there's other things that I didn't.
Well, and so it's interesting that you got to be that big. I've been talking with my coach about this a lot as far as like team sizes, right? And so for the longest time, we were a team of 5, right? And like it was my husband and I, and then, 3 or 4 ish buyers agents. And then
Yeah.
like one person would leave or 2 people would leave. And then like there goes like, 10, 15, 20% of your production. So you'd be like, oh shit, now I've got to hire someone. And so we were in this constant kind of churn, right? Because you'd have someone for 18, 24 months, whatever it may be. And so it was like we were having the conversation of like, do you stay here? Because now we're at like 15, right? Do we stay at 15 or do we just make the jump to the 30? Because it's like then like things are more at scale, but your profit is so low. And so that's like there are so many things that like people don't talk about, right? When they're talking about teams
Right.
and when they're talking about building a business, it's just like, oh yeah, like we did $10 million of GCI and be like, oh man, that's awesome. But like when you're spending $9 million of that on lead gen and systems and office space and all the
Yeah.
things, like, is that really a good deal,
And it
So,
comes with, I think you have to assess what you love doing.
yep.
If there are agents, team leaders, brokers that I know that they pour their heart and soul into training. They love recruiting, and
Yeah,
they love, just managing the people that they have on their team or in their
for sure.
brokerage. But then it's okay to say, like, that's not my strength. Like, I'm good at it, but I'm way better at selling real estate and making money that way than I am
Yeah.
keeping, it was just, for me, it was like, I always said it was like somebody threw a wet wool blanket on me. Like, I felt so much pressure for them to
Yeah.
be successful. I take it very personally. Like, I want to make sure everybody on my team is successful. And yeah, that was a lot.
I think it's hard too as a leader because you can't make someone want it more. Like you can't want it for them more than they want it for themselves, right? And so like you can't make them care more. You can't make them try harder, right? Like their capabilities are only as far as they are, right? And so I think that's the hardest thing for me, or the biggest learning lesson for me was like, okay, like if you only want to sell 10 homes a year, I can't make you sell 20. There's nothing that's going to make you do that, right? And so especially as a brokerage
Yeah.
owner, right? It's like you can't push people to that point. And yeah.
I think that one of the things that I did not realize that I came to understand after having built a team and then built a pretty good sized brokerage was,
Yeah.
like you, Katie, I'm very systemized. I have my systems. And I know, like, this is your listing. This is how you get your listings. This is how you manage your
Yep.
CRM. This is how you take notes. This is how you do follow up. Like, come on my team, and I will teach you everything I know, and then you will be successful too. And, I thought this is a great recipe for success. But the truth of the matter is not everybody wants to do it the way Connie Carlson does it.
Really?
Right? Yes. It was like, even my own daughter, I thought she's just going to come in here and just take over what I'm doing. She's going to take over my YouTube channel. She's going to do this. She's like, Mom, I'm just not going to do it that way.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it my way. So that's kind of a big pill to swallow, is it's not everybody wants to do it the way you do it. So just giving yourself that freedom to know, like, you can give somebody their ideas, but don't expect them to always piggyback on what you're doing.
But my way's the right way. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing for anybody thinking about, I think the thing that we did that was probably the single-handedly, like, brought our office together the best was we had weekly meetings. I was doing a lot of training, and I felt, to me, like I didn't have to make it mandatory. If they didn't come, that's because I wasn't providing good enough content. So I should be providing training or some sort of meeting that they want to come to because they get something out of it. So that's on me. But we did Slack, and we had a lot of fun. We would do, like, for example, one year I had a bunion removed on my toe. And so I was in a boot. So I got a boot pinata, and I loaded it with liquor bottles and chocolate, and like little plastic liquor bottles.
Yeah.
And then we had the real estate AMP book, like the book you take the real estate exam from, all those questions. So we did like multiple choice, and we had all sorts of games. So we would always do fun things because this job can get hard, but it's nice when you have like that peer group that gets together. We do call-a-paloozas and have all sorts of contests just to make it fun. And then people were motivated to make their calls. We did a lot of online stuff, online lead gen.
Yeah. You made the smart decision to get the plastic little bottles instead of the glass ones. I knew someone that did one of those pinata things, but they accidentally got some glass ones, and so it was fine until like they all started falling and breaking. So that was a mistake on their part, but still a lot of fun because it was a drunken pinata at a birthday party. So good times. All right, so I want to switch gears a little bit. I think you gave a lot of good insight on teams. The biggest thing and one of my biggest takeaways from what you said is like the profitability, right? And figuring out, if as you grow, will you still be profitable, right? Because maybe a smaller team or having an admin or a buyer's agent makes more sense than building out that team of 50, unless that is truly what fills your cup, right? Because if you
Right.
don't enjoy training and it's also not profitable, it's probably not going to last very long or be successful. So I like that.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So switching gears a little bit into marketing and video. You're someone that I feel like you hear something and then you're one of the people that like actually implements it, right? You're like, okay, I have these creative ideas and now I'm going to go do them. Where I feel like a lot of people with creative ideas often don't do them. So you just mentioned like YouTube, you're in like, an awesome setup, studio setup now. You've been like crushing property videos. I know you guys do mailers. I know you're doing some online lead gen and like retargeting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I feel like y'all do everything at a very high level. So like as far as marketing goes and as far as lead gen goes, like what are y'all's like main pillars? And I also know you live on your past clients and sphere and stuff like that. So what are your
Yeah.
main pillars of business right now for your lead gen?
Yeah. So it's changing a little bit this year. Our main pillar has always been, past clients and sphere, and I'll get back to that in a minute. But we built that team. We built that 30-person office on online lead generation. I actually had a website that was generating 300 leads a month for $300 before there was such a thing as Boomtown, before we even
Okay.
had CRMs. Like
Yeah.
literally, it was crazy. And so we built that up that way. But lately, it's been harder and harder and harder to convert these online leads.
Yeah.
So we kind of, as our little family team, we're halfway through the year. We said, all right, where's the money? Where's it coming from? And we're really focused on getting organic business. So not paying so much. Online lead is very expensive. We're going to keep doing that because I think it's important to feed, kind of feed that funnel. But I'm taking some of that money and really heavily investing, kind of like Lana's doing in Colorado Springs, a lot more client events. I'm going to do a ladies' brunch in August. We're going to do a costume party at a local brewery. Oops. And part of that is just because I've been in the business now for 20 years and I've probably got maybe 5 more years that I want to do this. So I really personally only want to work with my sphere. But Cassidy and Matt are looking to grow their business. They've lived here their whole lives, but most of their friends are 25, right? So they are really leaning into Cassidy's already closed 2. She just started her TikTok channel in January. She's already got 2 closings. She's got a $750,000 closing from YouTube. Matt's doing the Georgia Golf Guy. So we're kind of leaning into that. But when I do have these online leads, like I'll do through Chime. It's super easy when you get a listing. I'll just do a $200 social media ad straight off the Chime dashboard. And we'll get pretty, if we spend $200, we'll have at least 10 to 12 leads, which is pretty good. And then once they're in my network, that's when I do the video emails. So long time ago, I would be getting these leads with no phone number. And I'd be like, how do I call these people? How do I create any sort of personal relationship with somebody who just gave me their email? So a lot of times I will, if I've got an email that I don't want to read, remember templates, they used to have all these email templates, like nobody's reading that spam. So I try to create hyper-local content. I'll do like a market update or I'll talk about a local restaurant. And that's where my YouTube content came from for the last 12 years. It was just the stuff that I was sending out to my database and I just had to house it someplace. So I just, saved it on YouTube. And I've been just kind of thinking like YouTube can do what it does naturally. I'm just going to create content for the people who are in my database just to stay in front of them on a weekly basis.
Well, and I think if just kind of unpacking that a little bit more, like one, if you're using the templated, drip campaigns from the CRM, like you need to customize them somehow, right? If it's not with video, even if you're just customizing what the text is, because like if someone signs up on Connie's website and also Bobby's and also Susie's and also Joey's, right? Like, and everyone's using the same drip campaign, like then they're getting the same emails 4 times a day, right? Or 4 times that week. So by just even customizing them and changing them a little bit, then yours will stand out. But going that extra mile, what Connie's doing is putting in videos with information about living in, or what's happening in the market or whatever it may be. And
Yeah.
that's, value add stuff.
And even like with, so little technology here stuff. So I'll do, like I use Curator and they create these emails. So the email might be like the top 5 things you can do for a return on your investment on home improvement. Okay. So
Yeah.
they've already written the blog post. You can get blog posts from so many different sources. So I'll just do like a little teaser video and I'll do it on a horizontal, but then I'll make it short so I can put it on Instagram and Facebook. But then I also send it as a Vimeo link in an email. And I also put it at the top of the blog. So look down below, so I try to, if I'm going to film something, I want to make it go as far as possible.
Yeah. No, the repurposing of content is so smart as well. And I think too, like if you're putting some of these longer form videos on YouTube and then sending those videos to leads and then they're watching them, chances are the next time they're logging into YouTube, they're getting one of your videos as a suggested video to watch, so then there's that brand recognition. And while, most online leads are middle or top of funnel, right? If they continue to see you and continue to see you and continue to see you, and then they're ready to buy in 6 months or 12 months, like chances are you're going to be higher on their list to reach back out to at that point.
The one thing that I really hadn't really given much thought to until I guess we joined Real in November, I took all these training classes, was who's my audience? And my audience on Facebook is different than my audience on Instagram, is different than my audience in an email, is different than my audience on YouTube. So I used to just put everything out kind of the same. And now I'm holding that back a little bit. Like YouTube is going to be people who are interested in maybe knowing more about Marietta, so that's going to be more like catching people moving to this area versus if I'm sending a video out via email, I'm trying to convert these people. They're already in my web. Now I've got to create some sort of one-on-one relationship with them. And it's hard to have a one-on-one relationship with 28,000 people.
It is. It is. Yeah. So do y'all still have a large database?
We're at like 28,000. When we moved from Commissions Inc. to Chime, we got rid of 10,000 people. So that was a few years ago. It's probably time to, but every now and then we'll do kind of a
revival type thing.
Revival. And you'd be surprised people who you had in cold, who hadn't been responsive for a long, long time, all of a sudden will come around and so don't delete them forever.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's one of the bonuses about using Curator and partnering with Curator, because they're, the newsletters and the emails and they help you with a lot of that stuff, right? So that you can continue to cultivate that database. Because a lot of people would say, oh yeah, we have 20,000+ people or 30,000 people, and like they just sit there. Y'all are at least working them, right? And hopefully getting more out of that database. I love the leaning in on the past clients and sphere and the past client events, especially having been in business for a while, and then especially being a family business. It's people, really, really enjoy that. So I'm excited to see those events coming up and pictures and video and stuff from that.
So one thing I learned probably from experience here is, and I started Buffini back a long time ago when Brian Buffini had his whole working by referral. That's how I kicked off my business. And we used to give, like a $5 Starbucks gift card if somebody sent us a referral. And one day I looked in my purse and I had like 10 of those Starbucks gift cards. I had no idea who gave them to me. So I thought, well, this is not anything meaningful. So if someone refers me, even if I never even hear from that person, even if I just know like, hey, because I just had a client refer me to a coworker. So I go on, what is it? It's called Farmhouse Flowers, I think is what it's called. They're these beautiful flowers. They're wrapped in burlap. You can send them anywhere in the United States. It cost me $100. I can even add a video message to the flowers. I don't know how that works, but it does. But I send flowers. I send big gifts, not anything of, too much value because of breastfed and all that. But I make it known, like, I really appreciate the fact that you recommended me to one of your friends.
For sure.
And then I wish I could say I was as good. There's definitely certain people on my past clients that I talk to more than others, but
And
having that annual client appreciation event last year, the last 2 years, we really blew it out. We did it at the Below the Chop House at the Braves Stadium, which was awesome in that I could only come with my little purse. Like I literally couldn't have cameras, nothing. They took care of everything. And people really liked that type of event because when you go to some of these client parties, you don't know people and you feel like, oh, I got to network with people I don't really know. Where this way could go, we could have a drink or so at the bar, but then people could sit and actually watch, the best baseball team in all of U.S. history. So it was great. They loved it. And most people had never been in the Below the Chop House. I mean, it's kind of a once in a lifetime thing. So the good thing about client parties is you have to reach out numerous times to get the RSVP. Yeah. And so that'll only hold 90 people, but we'll invite 300 people.
Yeah.
Because we know that not everybody can come, but it's a good way to talk to a lot of people.
Is that going to be an annual thing, or do you think you guys will continue to adjust what you do for,
This year I have clients. Luckily, I have two clients. One client owns a cidery in town. Nice. And so we're going to do October 20th. We're going to do a party. And I always think you should have some sort of like a theme or something.
So that's the costume one.
So we're going to do Trivial Pursuit and the category is entertainment. So if it's a success, we'll do it next year. And the category can be like, history or geography. Yeah. And then I'm going to get a trivia guy to come in because everybody loves trivia, right? So that'll be fun.
Completely unrelated to the podcast, but related to what you just said. Do you think that they've updated Trivial Pursuit, or is it still like the same questions that they've had for years?
It wouldn't matter. I don't know any of them. My roommates, let me tell you, my roommates in college, my boyfriend he's a neurologist now. So he was like a brain guy, a brain surgeon. Like and my roommate, my roommate, she got a full ride plus stipend to get her PhD in political science from Harvard. And her boyfriend, who lived with my boyfriend, got a full ride plus stipend to get his PhD in chemistry from MIT. And we would play Trivial Pursuit. And I was like,
so what were you? Were you like the bartender?
I could just flip the cards, like. I don't even know how people know this stuff.
Well, so when I was growing up, my family played Trivial Pursuit, and they were all just older than me, so obviously had way more intelligence. So I was always the one that got to put the little pieces in the in the little pie. Yeah, when people would get questions right. So that's my extent of it. But I just think now I'm an adult, so if I were to play, but the questions back then from when I was a child are 20 plus years old, right? So I wonder if they update it with more.
I'm sure they do. They probably do. Yeah.
Huh.
I think working, when I hear people who say 75% of their business comes from online leads or comes from, their internet or whatever, or even YouTube, that's very kind of concerning to me because I think that you should always have more than 50% of your business coming from your past clients. If you're not getting that, one, you're either not providing good enough service, or two, you're not staying in touch with them. Yeah. That's super important. But
and I mean, I don't know about you, but what we've seen from our past clients and Sphere and people we know transacting and retransacting, right? And then the referrals from them, it's always a lot easier than the lead chasing where if you feel like you're having to prove yourself and that you know what you're doing, right? When a past client calls and is like, hey, we want to buy another house, it's sweet, where, awesome, how much? There's no scripting around it, it's just a normal conversation that you're having with a friend.
Yeah, I think having coached with a lot of agents in the past, what I see happen, and I know this happens to me too, is making those phone calls is my least favorite thing to do. It's like working out. The hardest part about working out is getting to the gym, you're in your mind, do I really want to work out today? But once you get started making those calls, it's not so bad. And most agents, I say, get into real estate for 3 reasons: freedom, flexibility, and the financial rewards,
Yeah.
but they end up enjoying freedom and flexibility so much that they never get to those financial rewards. So it's like every day you have to look at yourself and say, what would I have paid myself if I was an employer today? You know, did I work a full day? You know, did I earn my salary?
That one cuts deep. What would I have paid myself, or what would I have gotten paid today? Some days I feel like I'm earning that paycheck. Other days, maybe not so much.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, you know, if you look at the end of the week and you haven't had any conversations with, it's a contact sport. So either you're calling past clients or you're calling new people, you're always adding people to the funnel. You've always got to be thinking like, where's the business coming from 3 months from now? Because it's so easy to get wrapped up in your transaction for today and think, I just have no time to call anybody today. But even if it's just call somebody in the car on the way someplace, you know, send them a text, send them a video message. Father's Day, I sent out a bunch of video messages to some of my favorite fathers.
That's good. I like it. Well, and so I think I glossed over an important point that I wanted to hit on today. So I think I want to segue back to teams a little bit, and your team, right, is a family team. Carlson Orange is you and your husband and daughter and her husband. And so what was kind of, I guess let's first start out, what would be your advice for people that are working with their spouse or are working with family members?
Figure out your lanes. There's the difference between being a team leader of unrelated people that you're not related to and people that you are related to is very different. For us, we all run pretty kind of independently. Like I won't be like, oh, we're going to have a call night and everybody's going to call 20 people. And how many calls did you make? Like everybody on our team is more independent. I would say we're even structured as what we call a marketing group. But when Dan and I first started working together, we thought, oh, we'll work, the clients can work with both of us. This will be great. We'll cover for each other. And we learned very, very quickly that we were stepping on each other's toes. We were double doing things. It really wasn't working. So we quickly realized that Dan really enjoys just working with buyers. Has been in sales his whole life. Building relationships is what his strength is. And so we just said, you'll work the buyers and I'll work the sellers and I'll do the marketing and I'll keep, doing the accounting and all that stuff. So Cassidy and Matt, they've kind of structured the same way. Matt mostly works buyers and Cassidy is doing buyers and sellers, but probably eventually she'll just do listings as well. She loves the marketing side of it.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest thing is figuring out, when I talk to other couples, like the ones that are doing really well, they're like, he handles all of the admin stuff, right? Like that's his strength. He was in technology before. There's a book called Strength Finders 2.0. And are you familiar with that book?
I am not, but it's been brought up many a time.
Okay. Strength Finders 2.0. You don't even have to read the whole book. It gives you a code. You go online, you each take it's like a behavioral test, and it tells you what your strengths are. And the basis of that book is like, instead of trying to work on your weaknesses, spend more time working on what you're strong in. And so if your spouse or your partner is stronger in admin, then have them focus on that, right? So just figuring out what lane you need to be in is probably the biggest thing. I mean, Dan's office is upstairs. I'm downstairs. We don't work side by side. I think we love each other so much. I just think having to be with each other all day long would be a lot. So, and then also being able to shut it off. That's the hardest part. My husband, my daughter, my son-in-law, my sister, my nieces, my dad, my sister-in-law, we're all in real estate. When your entire tribe is a real estate agent, it's hard sometimes to shut off the real estate dial, but you have to be cognizant of it and shut it off.
It's tough too. And I'm not sure if you guys get this, but it's like, when we go out to go do things, because like Ryan and I are both in real estate, right? My husband, and like, there'll be times where like I'm still in work mode, right? And he's not, and he's just like, I just want to have a beer and eat dinner, right? And like, or vice versa. And so, having that like, hey, like phones down, phones at home, let's go on a walk or do whatever, right? Or like, hey, no work talk type thing, is always a good, hand to raise, before
Yeah,
y'all go out
Dan
or do
does
things.
this. He like turns my nose, like shut it off.
It's tough though, because it's like, you'll get a text on your phone or you'll see something come over on your watch or whatever it is. You're like, oh shit, did you, whatever. So
It's nice too though, because once everybody is in real estate, they understand. Like, hey, we get it. You got to leave. You got to leave. This is an important call. Sometimes that's the thing about real estate is it is flexible. There are some days where I take a nap. Like I'm done making calls.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here, I'm kind of tired and I'm going to take a nap. And then there's other Father's Days. Like Dan was working on Father's Day last night. He was working with a deal, but that's just the part of flow in real estate.
The ebbs and flows come frequently. What, other than Strength Finders, what would be a like podcast you would recommend people listen to, or a book you recommend they read for like personal development that's impacted you?
Oh boy. I'm probably less of a podcast book person. Like I've got a lot of books, but honestly, like I'm terrible at reading business books. I am a YouTube video person. Like I YouTube everything. So if it's, if you want to be better at making videos, if you don't know how to set up your studio, if you don't know what lights to buy, if you don't know how to hold an open house, like I'm on YouTube watching YouTube videos all the time. That's kind of what I do at night is sometimes I might be watching a video about how to, shoot a 360 video of a house. Like right now, I just bought this 360 camera. That's really fun. I'm like,
the reason why I'm laughing is because the other day you were trying it out or whatever, I think, at a house.
And it's like,
I saw a story of you like walking with it and it just cracked me up. I was
Cassidy posted that. I was like doing anyway. Yeah. It's like, if you get the tall stick, it's like a drone. It's almost like a drone. It's pretty cool, but I might be watching that. And then, then I might watch something that, BAM. I love BAM. I would say that of everything that's come out in the last 12 months, Broke Agent Media on YouTube, and he does the hot sheet every day. Man, that stuff is golden. And if you can I always say, like in real estate, there's character and competence. That's why people hire you. They trust your character, but they also know you're competent. And sometimes when, your best friend or your next door neighbor who you've known for 20 years lists their house with somebody else, they trusted your character, but they didn't trust your competence. And, it can go the other way around. So when you're putting out content, especially on social media, don't make it try to hit both sides of it. Right. So if you're watching BAM, which Broke Agent Media, he does hot sheets. So he'll talk about what's happening in the stock market and how it impacts real estate, what's happening with housing starts nationally. And so you can take that information and then explain what's happening in your current market and sound more like a professional. And I know some people, market reports kind of get a bad name, like they're boring and nobody wants to watch them. But I'm telling you, guess who watches them? Doctors, lawyers, engineers,
smart people,
detail-oriented technology people who want to buy $2 million houses. And they will hire you because you did the market video in your market. More so than the fact that you could dance and, make funny TikToks. Like they're going to hire you because you showed your competence.
No, shout out to Eric and Byron. I love what they're doing over there with BAM, and the hot sheet is great. I love the national stats, and then what I like doing is then like distilling those down to what's happening here locally, right? So if I'm seeing how many ever months of inventory there is, well, what's happening in Houston? Is that more or less? Are we busier or slower than what's happening nationwide? And like that's why I love doing stuff like this, right? And like hearing about what's happening in Atlanta and like what is going on in your market. So like when I have clients, I'm like, like I can totally get like what's happening in Georgia, but this is what's happening in Texas, right? And being able to confidently articulate that is something that not everyone is able to do. So it definitely sets you apart for sure.
So take some time to look at, I know with our MLS, we have InfoSpark, and I'm a little bit of a geek when it comes to checking out those numbers. Like, I like to know, is inventory going up? Is inventory going down? What's happening in this particular, segment? And there's no shortage of content that you could just make. Like, I was thinking today, because I haven't done a video for a little while, on the market, but I'm going to a listing appointment. So I've already looked up how many months of inventory are there in between 5 and 800,000 in this particular zip code. When I was driving to that appointment, I should have been doing a video about it.
Yeah. And you have a Tesla too, right?
Yeah. So yeah, but I don't do the auto drive yet. I mean, I can, but I'm like this when I'm doing the auto drive. I'm more alert than I am when I'm driving myself. But yeah, just do it. Just, pull over in a parking lot and just say, I'm on my way to talk to these people. And there's only one home. There's literally one home between 5 and 800,000 in that district for sale right now.
That's not many homes.
No.
Sounds like those sellers will be able to get a decent amount of money for their property if it looks nice.
Yeah. I mean, they're pretty much cash. Even I listed a $1.2 million property and all cash. And the cash it's almost like you have to have cash to get the offer. So that's why the lenders are structuring how they qualify you so that you can make what appears to be an all cash offer, even though you're getting a loan.
Sounds like you got 2 videos to make now, Connie. Sounds like you have 2 videos to make.
Yeah. I suppose people need to know more about that.
If you're looking to sell or buy. Great info. All right. I've got a question for you. What would you be eating if it was your last meal on Earth?
Oh, man. Pizza from Naples, Italy. From Naples, Italy.
I like it. What toppings would be on it? What would be?
A margarita pizza.
Okay, just like classic, fresh.
I mean, just fresh. Yes. Yeah. Anything from Italy, basically.
Yeah. I mean, and if we're doing Italy for last meal, of course, then you'd have like all the things. So I like it.
My kids used to make fun of me because we had a very healthy pantry. And so they would go to the neighbors for junk food. But yeah, fresh food would be my thing. What about you?
I like it. It'd either be steak or sushi. Those are my 2 favorite meals.
Yeah.
So, steak or sushi. All right, Connie, you are absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for your time today. If someone doesn't already follow you on social, where is the best place for them to connect with you?
Probably Instagram, and it's at Connie Carlson.
Awesome.
So super easy to find me there. I do have one thing that I didn't mention that I think would be like a nice little bonus tip.
Bonus tip? What do we got?
A bonus tip. So getting those online reviews is so important. And sure. I've figured out kind of a technique that's really helped us boost our online reviews. One, we always let people know, we're going to be asking for an online review. We stopped doing the Yelp and the Zillow and all, here's 5 different links. Like, we just do Google now because Google is the one that's, for years, if you ask Siri, who is the best real estate agent in Marietta, it said my name for years. And I used to get people who said, Siri referred me to you. So, yeah. So what we do is we do an annual drawing, and we are going to give away this year either a Traeger grill, a Ring camera system, whole house camera system, or an AirPod Max headset. And so we try to reach a lot of different types of gifts. And if you give us an online review, you have a chance to win. That's another client thing where we reach back out to them 1st of January and say, okay, on, January 7th at noon, go to our Facebook Live. We're going to do the drawing. So it helps us get a lot of reviews. And that in turn led to 60,000 in GCI last year, just from online reviews.
So are you saying that if I go to Google to Carlson Orange and I leave a review, I could possibly get a Traeger? That's what you're saying?
Yeah, Traeger grill.
Huh. All right.
Yeah,
well,
y'all do it. And then Yes, if you all had a great experience with this podcast, just Google Carlson Orange Team, talk about the thing that you learned, and then make sure you send me a direct message on Instagram so we add you to yeah, but just don't all do it right now. Just
No,
kind of
well, and so
space it
that's
out.
actually bonus tip number 2 is if ever you are asking for reviews or like you're like, man, I've really screwed up on reviews and I don't have many, so I'm doubling down on it today and I'm gonna ask every single past client. You got to space them out because if you go and you get 15 Google reviews in a week, Google's gonna flag them because they think you're asking for them. So you've got
Yeah,
to make it part of your transactions, right? And then you also have to, if you're gonna ask all of your past clients, do like 2 a week every week for the next, whatever.
yeah, yeah. But that's an important thing that you should be doing. And Tammy, Matt is handling the whole Google profile, and we're
Yeah.
trying to really, because it's free and Google sends you business.
It's crazy. It's crazy how that works.
Yeah, for sure.
I love it. Awesome. Well, thank you
Thanks
for
for
the
having
bonus
me.
tip. I appreciate it. You're the best.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing everything and being a wealth of knowledge. Looking forward to seeing you soon, hopefully in the fall. I think we'll probably see each other.
San Diego.
So, yes,
Yeah,
ma'am. Awesome.
I'll be there.
Looking
Okay.
forward to seeing you.
I've got my neon dress already.
Love it.
We'll see
Awesome,
you.
Connie.